Greetings, blade fans, blade lovers everywhere. We have been visited today by the Megatherium. What is a Megatherium, you may ask? Well, it is the creation by the late great Elisha Isham, who's no longer with us, passed away earlier this year, tragically. And this is my first Isham design, believe it or not. They're getting hard to come by. In the days following his passing, many of the knives designed by him, both custom and commercial production, have been kind of scooped up. I was very lucky to get this knife produced by Kizer, and it is now out of production, but I was able to get a copy from White Mountain. You can try. I'll leave you the link. If you can't find it there, you may find it at Blade HQ or Knife Center. I am not sure. But let's take a look at this humongous knife. Well, it's humongous. It's not as large as some real big beasts. There's always bigger beasts in the jungle, right? But it's a finely made and I would say kind of a space age sort of a blade. Let me read you a little something from Blade HQ. The Kizer Megatherium features a dramatic Elisha Isham design that will be a standout in any collection. Elisha has a strong appreciation for surreal art, resulting in unique and creative knife designs that function as good as they look. This model has a modified Wharncliffe blade. Personally, I would call it a sheep's foot, made from CPMS 35VN steel and titanium frame lock, etc. I'm going to go over that in a minute. Megatherium comes up equipped with Isham's edge below tab flipper system that conceals the flipper in the open position for unobstructed performance. Well, that's interesting. So let's close this big boy up. And it is a drop shot knife, almost a guillotine. So there's your flipper tab, no jimping, opens easily, and then what happens is that it echoes the frame, so you do not see anything extra hanging out down there. So I think that is what was meant. We have a nice go forward position here. Look at that. It's not really, it's partly a choil and it's partly kind of a rest on the front lower part of the frame. And if you're careful, you won't cut yourself. It's really not that bad. You can sort of butt the side of your finger up against that. Titanium bolster here, almost matched evenly by this carbon fiber that is a wood-like carbon fiber. I know it has a name. It has a horizontal grain to it. Kizer's used it on other knives, including some in the Begleiter series. The Ergos, it looks strange, but the Ergos are really, really good. It's like a pistol grip, and the full length of my thumb fits in that swale that's created between the frame and the blade, and then of course there's this huge opening hole. So this can easily be middle finger flicked, easily be light switched, even though there's an absence of jimping. I've got to go way back here if I want to thumb flick it, so I'm not going to bother thumb flicking it on this guy. Probably stick with the middle finger flick and the back flipper. Has a very organic looking bullet shaped, if that's the right word, kind of a ovoid shaped handle there. So you could theoretically hold it way back here, or if you come up, you've got a perfect guard finger stop from that combo of a matching flipper tab with the matching frame. S35VN in this case is sort of a stone-washed with a little bit of bead blast. I think I'd probably call it more bead blast than stone-washed. I can't really pick up much of a pattern there. Yeah, there's a little bit of a pattern. Billboarding isn't too bad. We've got the Kizer logo pretty prominent, but not that large. We've got S35 stamped here, and the model number, stock number, and then not too big and nicely done here with the Isham logo is the word Megatherium. And that's why I'd call it a sheep's foot, because it's an elongated one. And then why is it not a Warncliffe? Because it's got a little bit of a belly. And maybe we can't call it a sheep's foot for the same reason if you get really technical. Anyway, in my book it'll be a sheep's foot, or it'll simply be the Megatherium. Why don't we find out how large this Megatherium is? There is a Minatherium, by the way, believe it or not. Or you believe it if you got one. We're halfway between 8.5 and 8 3/4. So we're going to call that an 8.65 overall. And we're going to call it, we're going to call it 3 3/4 for the blade length. And the same for the cutting edge. So, not a small knife. How about the blade stock in millimeters? Pretty thick. 3.9. Switching to inches. 0.15. Handle. 0.55. And weight. Don't see any weight reduction. It's a pretty good chunk, but it's not overwhelming. 5.46 ounces. Yeah, in that 5.5 ounce category. Let's do a compare with another large Kizer knife. This one from John Gray. And this I thought was a pretty good sized knife, pretty tall and pretty long, and guess what? It is spot on for length with the Megatherium. This is the John Gray GPB1, and that stands for Gray's Pocket Brute. If we were to get interested in the height of the blade, the Pocket Brute is slightly south of 1 3/4, while the highest point on the Megatherium is a little over 1 3/4. So both very tall blades with titanium handles. This one's solid titanium, and this is heavy. This is over 6 ounces. A lightweight here by comparison. And I'm going to look again. Didn't see any weight relieving. Nope, just flat titanium on the inside. But there's your weight relieving, is the thickness of those scales and the relative thinness of the titanium frame right there. So that is where it's losing some of the titanium, is where these scales are attached. We have a right side only tip-up carry, and it leaves you about 3/4 of an inch out of the pocket. Not bad for a big knife, really. It does feel really good. I don't know, it's kind of like you're holding a flat egg in your hand. I don't know how else to describe it. That's kind of silly. But it's an impressive, out there, futuristic sort of a design, as are just about all of Elisha's designs. Another compare. Here is the Concept Delta, another pretty large knife, and again about the same length, but not the same height. But here's sort of the granddaddy of them all in this category. Here is the Sheepdog XL by Kizer. And yeah, that guy is a good, what are we going to say? I would say a good inch longer overall. And how about the blade? About half an inch longer. But definitely, we said the others were around 1 3/4 tall. This is coming up closer to 2 inches. So this is a beast of a blade if you've got it or you've been interested in it. They all have large and heavy enough blades to be very drop shut. This one's so smooth. They just did a perfect job executing this knife on the Isham design. Let's put it next to Reptilian. So it's about an inch longer overall. The blade, not that much longer, half an inch. So as I said, we're not so much dealing with a long knife as a tall one. And when we talk tall, we're talking this dimension here, right? We're not talking thickness, which is another dimension. It is spot on with the Rat 1. Beautiful knife. Glad I was able to finally get one of Isham's designs. Just nice matte finish there on the bolster. Simple surrounds, nothing fancy. Wide open construction. Barrel spacers, 2 of them. And what's the provision for stopping? Well, we've got a stop pin. And it's a medium-sized stop pin. Lock up, rock solid. Blade to handle ratio, decent with maybe half an inch. I mean, you don't want to go crazy, but you got a blade that's pointing downward, so you might be able to get away with a little more. But let's not fault the knife on that. It's in the ballpark. There you have it. The Megatherium. Produced by Kizer, designed by Elisha Isham. Be well. Take care. See you soon.